Pardon my French.
Welcome to Book Club for Movies for the week of August 15th. I'm Ryan Miller, and an Umbrella of Cherbourg himself, Matt Amberg, is here.
Yes, I am. I'm here. Pardon my French. Pardon your French.
When I said how many times we were going to say that, I didn't think it would boost. I feel like you're boosting the number artificially now.
Have I ever done anything artificially? I am infuriated by your statements here, especially to begin the month of August.
We did. We came up with a name for our newly themed month of lovey-dovey movies. The month of Awwwgust, which I think is better than, I think I rattled off Hotgust at one point.
Oh, see, that would have been a good one. I didn't hear that. I don't remember.
Oh, did you? Okay, well, that's check out the show.
Check out the show. Maybe I should listen now and again.
On Book Club for Movies, where we do one movie a week, and if you do too, you can find us at podcast at bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter or Patreon, where the more you do, the more we do, technically.
Sorry, I was eyeballing the mailman that was coming across the...
Oh, that's fine. No, I'll keep it in. This week, we're doing The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. You say it right, I say it wrong. Let's do that.
That's not... I'm as French as you are. I mean, sure, maybe I'm more of a jerk than you are, but geez.
No, you have... When you say French words, I'm like, oh, he's looked them up.
No, see, it's all nonsense. It's the okay. I took French for 2 years in high school. I'm pretty sure I failed both times.
See?
So I don't know what I'm saying.
You're saying you have a synopsis for
The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Let's see.
1 hour and 31 minutes, written and directed by Jacques Demy, starring Catherine Deneuve, Nino Castelnuovo, Anne Vernon, Marc Michel, Ellen Fournier, Muriel Perry. Here is your Book Club for Movies synopsis for The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. A young woman working at her mother's umbrella boutique falls in love with a mechanic who is soon drafted and sent off to the Algerian War.
Thank you, Hercule. Poirot.
Yeah, it was really awful. And it hurt. That one hurt my throat.
I was looking forward to there are some movies where I more look forward to the inappropriately gruff movie announcer voice, and this is one of them.
Thank you.
For August, which if I didn't also mention, the other hook is that we're each choosing a movie. And when I say we, I also include our wives in that sentence. So
yes,
at some point, we will be doing a movie suggested by one of them, or both of them. This week, we're doing the movie suggested by you, which I think means maybe we'll do the movie suggested by me this following week and leave the finale shows, which, again, may completely backfire on one or both of us.
I'm crossing fingers on it, honestly.
We'll leave those for the end of the month / I'm sure beginning of September, considering how we do things.
I'm not going to lie.
Matt.
I am curious, before we continue, I am curious how many more musicals we end up with.
Yeah. So mine's going to be closer, because I already know what my wife is going to choose. Mine is going to be closer to a musical than hers is, strangely enough.
Oh, all right. Les Miserables it is. Let's go.
No, I think that movie's okay. I don't mind it.
No, I actually like it, but Russell Crowe, let's admit it, not a great singer.
I don't even think we have. Like, it feels punching down at this point to mention it even more.
Yeah.
But yes.
But let's talk about something else. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Cherbourg. Matt,
Yeah.
you've known about this movie for some time.
Yeah.
Must have.
Yeah.
How did you come about it? Before I get too much. I did look some stuff up. I've got some fun tidbits, but I'm curious how you came to it first.
Yeah, so this is one of those movies that I was racking my brain because I knew you were going to ask. And I've been racking my brain where the first time I saw this. And I think I saw this for the first time at I was at my uncle's house and there was a group of people there, and this was playing on the TV, and they like, I don't know if it was a video, I don't know if it was just on, I don't know, but they just sat me in front of it while they went and, you know, had drinks and did party stuff around me.
Same uncle as...
Yes.
When did we talk about him last?
Oh, at this point, I have no idea. It probably had to do with Schwarzenegger is my guess.
Okay.
Same guy. He's dead.
Oh.
R.I.P. Paul Walker.
That was my next question. Yes,
is he dead, Paul Walker? Yeah,
Fair.
He is. Very Paul Walker. Yeah. So I think that's where it was. I mean, I know I saw it at his house, but I feel like that was because there was like, I remember it being a very long night, and there were 2 or 3 movies that I watched that were just, they were there, and that was one of them. And to be fair, even as a kid, I was into musicals, and I mean, I would have been 9 or 10 at the time. You know, I'm not like super young, so none of this was beyond me or a surprise. My parents knew. They were like, "Oh, he likes musicals. It's fine. West Side Story, he loves it. Go." Yeah. So yeah, okay. This was just one of those. I saw it, and then throughout just kind of existence, there would be moments of things that would just kind of like, I'd see pictures of umbrellas or what have you from the movie. Like you'd see it from the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, that movie exists. And
oh, okay. I thought you were just seeing umbrellas in your day-to-day life.
No, and then it did the last time I was reminded of it actually was right before our wedding, like 10 plus years ago in 2009. We were shopping for umbrellas. And we went into an umbrella boutique, and it was very much a like, oh, this is like the goth version of that movie, but I could not remember the name of the movie at the time.
The umbrellas in the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, gorgeous.
Amazing.
Like look like they were handmade by, like the handles are like spaghetti thin.
They were definitely handmade.
They look fantastic.
Yeah.
It delivers in that respect, and many others, I think. But
I am curious. I am curious how this one went over for a lot of people, because I knew what I was getting into. I knew what I was getting everybody else into, and I didn't want to give too much away, and I certainly did not by not letting you know how the movie progressed.
Yeah, I think all you pretty much told me was that everything is sung, and I don't even know if I really got what you were saying at that point, because sure, I've seen lots of movies where everything is sung. I'm not sure I've ever seen a movie where now I can appropriately say everything is sung. Like I guess this is operatic.
It's operatic. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I guess that's more, which is also why I wouldn't have known. I've never seen an opera to this day, so I don't know if that's something you frequent, but
I mean, I have seen operas before that are not beyond Phantom of the. Yes, but I'm not.
You're right. I was skipping past that.
I am certainly. One. In fact, I've seen Carmen multiple times, which is in this movie mentioned, and they
over my head.
Yeah, Carmen is mentioned. I think it was in this. Maybe it's something else. Something else just recently mentioned Carmen. What the hell was it? I thought it was this. I don't know.
It was the TV show from the 80s with the girl. You don't like, what state is she in? You have to go by clues.
That's it. Yes, that's right. It's Carmen San Jose.
So I will take complete and utter blame for the way it did go when we watched, because I want to try and watch all of these movies with my wife and daughter.
Sure.
And
I mean, that was kind of the goal.
Yeah, which is also why it took so long. We're recording this at the end of the week again, because our schedules just didn't line up. And like I said, I'll take all of the blame. They didn't take to it as immediately as I might have hoped. And I don't think it was in the way that they were bored or that they weren't into it, because they, of course, like movies like this more than I do. You know, this is going to be a common refrain throughout this newly themed month of ours, is I don't watch a lot of movies like this. It's not something I do, like lovey-dovey movies, let's say. Like
yes.
musicals,
you
I
don't
watch
believe
more.
in romance or anything.
Just ask my wife.
That's right. We are robots.
I will take the blame that at the very beginning, I had to pause it and be like, if you guys are going to talk through the whole thing, like I don't think this is going to be a good way to spend our time, because I was trying to understand both what the movie was trying to do musically, because it's not familiar as far as that goes too. And I looked it up on Wikipedia, if you'll believe.
I don't.
I guess they're confident in saying it's entirely sung as recitative or recitative.
Recitative.
Or however you say that word that I'm now pronouncing for the first time in my life. But I guess that means that as they're speaking, they're not speaking or singing a song, technically. They are...
It's dialogue.
Doing it to the rhythm of speech, basically. Yes, there are notes. Everything said is a note, but it's not necessarily with a melody or something like that. And also, it's part of the reason I was having a hard time grasping it is that it's not, even then, I feel like, completely intuitive. It's done to the music. Like, the music is complementary, but the way it's complementary is so foreign to me. And I don't just mean like French foreign.
Pardon our French.
Like, there's moments where they'll deliver their lines like right in between bursts of music, you know, like obviously they were meant to. They're accentuated by the music. Some of it's call and response, like they'll say something in a way and then the music will mirror their exact melody or refrain or whatever that was. Just stuff I don't think I've ever seen before. So again, I don't know if this is commonplace in operas or whatever it is, but it took a little bit of time. So it also is a little bit funnier maybe than a normal musical, because, you know, the thing about musicals is that you're suspending your disbelief to some extent, where people are singing and dancing in the streets.
Right.
Well, this is, you feel like you even need to go a step further because they're talking stuff while singing two notes,
Totally,
etc. So yeah, but my wife and daughter didn't dive in necessarily like, oh, this is interesting. They were more, and again, I'll take the blame. I've shown them riff tracks already. My daughter hasn't quite drawn the line between when do I riff a movie and when don't I. So
yes, that is your fault. Great job, MST3 dad.
Yeah. It took a few, but I think by time we did get into it and they started, you know, really accepting and getting used to what was going on, they definitely liked it. But also I had to finish it without them. So I don't have like a final opinion from them on it. I know they want to finish it, so there's that. But I can give you my own opinion.
Of course.
Unfortunately.
Why would we not do that? Nope, never mind.
Well,
this show is no longer going. Awwwgust is canceled.
No, I'm making it sound worse than it is. I totally liked the thing. It is unique in more ways than I can count. It is, oh my gosh. We're going to have to spoil it to really talk about it.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I want to mention real before we go into that territory is I want to give you a little bit of what we got to. Cuz I built this up the same way to you that I did to Beth. So I didn't tell her anything more about it other than I think it's a very romantic movie. It's very sweet. And that's kind of it. And I very much so feel that way. I think it's also incredibly bittersweet. It's also very heartbreaking. And I didn't tell her any of that because I didn't want her. I mean, I didn't want her to go into it with a preconceived notion of, oh, I know what this movie is going to be.
So she hadn't seen it before.
She had never heard of it. She didn't know what it was.
And does she have like a specific, when it comes to movies like this, does she have a specific preference for happy endings or bittersweet stuff? Or...
No. She likes, I mean, she's very much a, you know, the adventure and getting there is a huge part of it.
Okay,
and
cool. I've seen one movie with your wife. We went and all saw Us together, I think, right?
Yes, and she loved that.
Was he at Shazam too? That was just us, right?
She was not. That was just you and I.
Okay, yeah. That feels like it was just you and I.
For multiple reasons.
Yes. I got the feeling that she takes things as they come. She's very introspective and analytical, maybe the wrong way to put that, but it gives everything a fair shake, I think. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, and that's, I think, very true. She's, when it comes to movies, she's like very even keel. It takes a lot for her to be like, I have no interest in seeing that movie. I mean, it's a lot, you know, she
and yet I bet you can still do it.
Oh, absolutely. Really, really. I mean, look, to be fair, if you want the easiest way to keep my wife from ever wanting to discuss anything with you, bring up sharks. Nope. Just done.
Oh, really?
Hates them. Won't talk about them. Doesn't want it. Like, just can't stand them.
Fear of or sickness of hearing about them?
Oh, fear. No, she is terrified of sharks. The Jaws ruined her life. Like, she is...
Interesting.
Yeah. The concept of her swimming in the ocean, I think, still freaks her out a bit. Like...
Love it.
But
like the opposite of my son, who...
It's like, sharks! Yeah, I'm one of you!
Yeah, but is also scared. We could talk about that, but interesting.
So she, at the end of the movie, she was very quiet about it, you know, and she said that from her perspective, you know, like she understood the romantic where I was coming from, but she was also very, very much so along the lines of you know, this is a very like sad movie because she is put into a position, and now we could talk about the spoilers where she is put into a position that she has no real choices on. You know, she's 17. She has a job at her mother's umbrella boutique, and the man who has now at the first half of this movie impregnated her has been taken off to war. And she has nothing left. Like she has her mother, and she has this other man who is interested in her, wants to be with her to a degree because her mother is trying to set her up with him. And, you know, ultimately what happens, she is set up with him. She does marry him. She has the child, and Guy, who was her first love, comes back from war, finds this out. He also moves on with his life. He ends up happy with a new child. She is unhappy because she's unhappy because it's not what she wanted, but she does get she's not in a bad situation. She's just not in the situation she had hoped for.
So there's certainly, I think, is some open to interpretation stuff at the end going on there. But I think really hit home with what you're talking about, we need to set the stage with the first maybe 30 minutes of this movie. Because when you said, hey, let's choose some lovey-dovey movies, I didn't realize that you were just going to, like, I don't think I ever properly understood the term lovey-dovey until I saw the first 30 minutes of this film. I feel bad for anything I've ever called lovey-dovey now having seen the embodiment of what that thing, like, this movie blows past the I love you record. Like any movie I've ever seen where people say I love you, like this movie just blows them out of the water within the first 10 minutes. Maybe they are just all over each other. Like they cannot part. They can't go do simple daily tasks. It's that young love, you know, like it's that sometimes insufferable to older people love that you just, you're upset because you can't have it anymore. You've been alive too long to experience it to some extent, you know, like
you're married now and have been for 30 years. Love is dead.
I wasn't
it's all
that
about
specific.
Just dealing with the idiot who sleeps next to you and the 4 other idiots who just suckle at the teat of capitalism.
Okay. This movie begins on such a saccharine note, and it's not overly so. Like at no point was like, I'm sick of this.
No.
It was just like, wow.
It's sweet, right? Like you go, okay, like and I love it. I love it because this movie sets you up for heartbreak. It sets you up so
essentially
well. After
the 30 minutes of that, I not only was I like, oh, okay, but I was also like, man, what is going to happen? like the sense of impending doom became greater and greater the more they said I love you. I was like, oh man, this is where is this going? And it does go. It doesn't, you know, like people don't die necessarily. They die inside.
Yes.
So yeah. But yes, he has to go to war. She's pregnant. You get the feeling that she kind of feels like she does have no choice. She marries a dude who I actually thought was going for the mom. Did you ever? I know it's a cultural thing.
At the very start, I was like, okay, this is gonna be mom's boy. Nope, never mind.
Nope. Yeah, it wasn't. It was very much she was just becoming close with a man that she believed would be perfect for her daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I got. It wasn't an easy leap, or it wasn't a hard leap, but yeah. At first,
right. Well,
I was like,
he also was well off. He has money.
Yes.
Which
rich, like he saved their store. It was like the first thing he did, kind of out of nowhere.
Right.
You know,
which is
their
also
umbrella store because she was in debt and there was some issue going on.
Yeah, which is also the mother is not so fond of Guy, the mechanic, who is just a mechanic. That's all.
Yeah, not fond of, has never met. Also,
does not like
but
him.
Also, not fond at all because her daughter's 17. She's still a child. She's very much a doting mother that's not ready for her child to grow up, etc. Also,
right.
But yes, does not have a positive opinion of Guy.
The symbolism of the umbrella is doing a lot of work in this movie. I want to be clear about that.
Oh yeah, no, it's take note of who doesn't have one at what point and what happens to them when they do not have one. You know, like lots of rain in this movie, especially when things aren't going great.
And then taking note of the colors of the umbrellas around them. Because one of the things that has to be called out as we go through this, and I'm going to just pull it out right now because we're talking about that, is this is one of the most beautiful movies I think I've ever seen from a visual perspective. Like shot, the colors, they pop. It is just a gorgeous film. Yeah.
And do check out the Criterion re-release. There's not a ton in the way of extras, but there is I didn't talk a whole bunch about I guess it kind of fits here. So the Umbrellas of Cherbourg is considered a middle movie of a trilogy from Demy. Who did, I've actually heard of the other two also. Have you heard of these? Lola came before it.
Well, yes, of course.
And I haven't seen either of them, but I've heard of them. And The Young Girls of Rochefort.
The Young Girls of Roquefort?
Is that okay?
It's probably Roquefort.
Seen that one?
I've not. No.
Okay, yeah. So this is apparently comes right in the middle between those two, but also is considered, quote, perhaps the fullest expression of Demy's career-long fascination with the entwining of real life, chance, and the bewitching artifice of cinematic illusion.
Oh, I love bewitching artifices.
Don't you?
I don't even know what it means, but I love it.
I know that perfectly describes this movie. I don't know why.
I don't. I am not literate enough to explain how I know it's correct.
The extra you can find out there is an interview with Jacques Demy and Michel Legrand, who did all the music for it. Mm-hmm. And it's simultaneously informative while also following that old school, like 60s, 70s style of interview where the interviewer is antagonistic for some reason.
Right. It's
like his questions are so brutal. Like who
do you think you are creating this type of film?
Yeah, like I swear at some point he looks at the composer and he's like, "Have you wasted your life?" and they all pause too. Like, what am I gonna say to this?
Well, you've certainly brought me back down to earth.
It's very funny, but also it's fun to see them talk about it. Also, you get to see that Jacques Demy is actually married to Agnes Varda, who I did see films from in college. Chloe from 9 to 7, 5 to 7, 9 to 5, 6 to 8.
9 to 5. It's the Dolly Parton thing.
Very new wave. So he kind of came up in that era, but I think after that era in a way, like he was really, I feel like, doing some of his own stuff. But I don't know enough about it to say. But if you can find those, it's interesting and fun. I think the other thing we could probably stand to talk about a little bit more is the actual music.
Yeah.
Because it blew my mind. I don't know how they put this thing together. Like seriously, the way I couldn't tell, number one, if it was location audio. I assumed it wasn't because back then especially was really hard to get something sounding as good as this movie sounds.
Right.
But it was synced up so well. I was like, man, I don't see also not just their lips, but to the music, like I said, like it's beat for beat perfect. The way they deliver their lines in between some of the phrases, or that, like I said, that call and response thing.
Yeah.
It is a marvel. I could not figure out how this thing got put together. I did have to look it up. It is mostly lip synced and dubbed. So I don't know if that makes it easier or harder, to tell you the truth.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's nuts, man. It's really something. I think it's easy to miss, especially, considering what you see nowadays. But yeah, just back then, how they put, and like I said, with the complementary fashion kind of the music, they're not singing songs. He's not singing to the melody that you're also hearing in the music, or however that goes.
Yeah.
It's complementary. Like the music's doing something completely different from what they're doing while they're speaking most of the time. And
yeah,
all that.
It doesn't, it's not something that you would like, if you put on the actual music itself on a record, you would not be like it's not something where you would immediately intuitively know how to lyrically fit in the words that are written down to that song. Like it's not intuitive that way.
You would have to figure out how to listen to this music. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just put it on,
and it's beautiful, man. It's impressive music too. It's some great music, and again, this movie has so many working parts or so many moving parts, I should say, that I think that what I was ultimately trying to say was, I think it's got so many moving parts that this is one of those cases where if one of those doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. And somehow miraculously, this insane kind of Rube Goldberg machine of a movie works.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful feat of filmmaking, that you don't see this exactly. This is something unique. Like you said, I don't think anything is really like this.
I can't think of another film, certainly. Like I said, this isn't necessarily my genre, and I know nothing of operas, but nothing comes to mind.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad it brought something new to the table for you too. Like that's awesome. That's super exciting.
I fell victim enough times to the riffing thing, maybe too. I just don't say it out loud, because there are some moments,
of course,
where like he comes back from the war, and yes, she's married and gone. Like we don't see Catherine Deneuve for almost the last 30 minutes of the movie, I want to say.
Yeah,
like she's gone.
Yeah,
she is moved out of Cherbourg. It's basically him and how he recovers, and he has a sick aunt who managed to stay alive long enough to see him return from the war. And it's like her goal, and then she's like, "Okay, now I can die." And he's like, "No, don't die right away." But he's super sad. But then also, his kind of descent into depression is musically still kind of cute. So it's sad, certainly, but there's like a cute little moment where he asks about the nursemaid immediately, and I'm like, oh, are we moving on that quick? But he doesn't necessarily. But then there's a cuter moment where he goes to a prostitute, and
that delightful prostitute
gets fired from work for doing a bad job because he doesn't show up in new overalls and probably messed up a car. He goes into a bar and tries to buy alcohol with too big of a bill. They seem strange, but also in the moment, I'm like, you know what? I like how kind of haphazard this all is. Like he's kind of just shuffling around, and he walks into a bar, and he's like, your bills are too big. So he just leaves. He's like, what's it to you? And gives him the whole thing anyway. So I'm like, what a weird way to signal, but I dug it like extremely. Yeah. I don't know if I'm reading it right, but yeah.
No, I think so. I like, it's an effective way of showing the character go down that spiral, go down that depression spiral, but doing it in such a way where it doesn't bring the entire film down into this like dreary, sad mess. It's still like it's getting across the depression while keeping a kind of, it's not fully upbeat, but it's definitely not downbeat. It's like that middle of the road. We've got still there's still music going. We're still singing. We're still having a moment, but it's not the worst, like You know what I mean? It's not. It's
Yeah,
not,
you actually make a good point, because you're still pretty bummed out about his situation. Like you're pretty bummed out when she gets married and leaves. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like it sucks.
Yeah,
for
because
everybody involved, including the viewers. So I guess if they had doubled down on that, yeah, I might not have showed up for work today, I guess.
the French know how to depress me.
They do. And speaking of which, I need to say at least two more things about the ending, because yeah, the ending it is not a quote unquote happy ending. They don't get back together, but man, I got to tell you, I love these endings more than any they made it endings. They're just, and maybe it's because I'm too used to them, and I love probably even plenty of movies where the ending is uplifting, because I don't even know that I say I'm completely bummed out by this ending. And this is where I say maybe it gets a little bit interpretive, because yeah, she shows up, she's wearing like a fur coat. She's obviously still enjoying the money, or however that goes. He's built his own gas station pretty much.
Yep.
And she pulls up to get some gas, and he comes out, and you get that moment where they see each other,
which I love.
And you just get it from her. Like you just see her face actually too. You don't get to see Guy's face, strangely enough, but you can kind of imagine it. But then he brings her inside, and they talk. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about her leaving. They talk about their kids. It's just over and done. And what do you say? And she gets in the car and drives off. And the camera actually pulls out on his family returning and him playing with his child in the snow. So it's bittersweet, I guess, would probably be the best way to describe it. But also, I get so much more from those endings that aren't just like, oh, happily ever after, or man, isn't love grand? Because I kind of get that from this, but I get it in the way that, you know what, this is most relationships, you know, and this is number one. It was young love, which doesn't work out more often than not. I don't know. I guess that's impossible to gauge, but
it certainly seems like that's the general consensus, right?
But it burns so brightly, right? And there is that sense of loss, obviously, but then, you know, I guess, is it better to have loved and lost? I don't even know who actually said that,
I'm pretty sure it was Spock.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I do know. But talk about a movie that drives that home maybe more than anything else could. Like, I don't regret watching the movie. I don't regret them having their relationship. Like it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
no, I hear you. And I think it's interesting when you like, I'm super interested to hear what Candy's thoughts are on the ending, because like I said,
I will come back with that. I don't know. Maybe we'll mention it next week on the show, or
that'd be great.
Extra somewhere or something.
Yeah, because like I said, Beth liked the movie a lot, but she also felt that it was really sad for Genevieve, who's Catherine Deneuve's character, because at the end, while he gets everything he wants and he is fully happy, he's as happy as he can be, or whatever. He gets everything he wants. She doesn't necessarily. Like she is kind of given to a guy that she had no interest in. She made that very clear at the beginning.
But she also has more children with him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but is that because she's in love, or is it because it's what she should do, or like? And that's, I think, what Beth's perspective is.
But also, if she is in love, if Guy is in love, what is that love? Like, is it less than what he had with Genevieve? Is it different?
It's different. It's got to be different.
This could literally go on forever. You know, like there's
sure.
I guess that's why it's more interesting to me than just happily ever after. But
absolutely, I mean, the fact that we're having this discussion, I think, makes that ending significantly more interesting, right? And it's a strong ending. I think that's the other thing, is that it's not. It's a good ending that is just an ending. It is not neither. Depending on how, I mean, again, perspective wise, right? But at the end of the day, if you look at it from the perspective of the film itself, I think I love that ending because, like you said, it's just an ending. It's like the relationship ended. Here they are years later. It's really good to see you. Later.
This is what happens.
That's life.
And yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, great film, obviously.
Yeah, I love it when I nail it. I'm real good at
any
that.
new ground here, but 1 for 1 here in the month of
August.
So
Yes.
I'd give it 9 hearts up.
Out of 4 hearts up. It's that good.
It's that good. Go check it out. Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I say it like the Swedish chef, and I feel like it lends some gravitas.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg, bork.
Come back next week for. Are you ready, Matt?
I am. I can't wait. I am so excited.
You could almost guess it. I've mentioned the movie several times. It's maybe the one. And this. Here's an even bigger clue. After this movie, I'm out of ideas. So I don't have anything to offer but this movie.
Are we off? We're watching The Princess now? Is that like?
No, we should have already watched The Prince. You haven't watched The Princess yet?
I'm not gonna lie. The Fury thing kind of like.
Oh, what? Okay. Go listen to our show on Fury. We're going to watch the movie that had us do Begin Again not too long ago.
Morbius.
No, that had us beginning again, in that if we didn't, we might do something we'd all regret. No, we're going to watch John Carney's Once.
John Carney's Once. Okay, yes. I have this ready queued up. I've never seen it. I love it. Okay.
I cannot wait. I have probably only seen it twice. I guess this is the 2007 with Glenn Hansard and let's see if I can do it before the IMDb loads. Marketa Irglova. Sorry. Left out the ear.
Irreglovus. Irresponsible.
Of how it's pronounced. We're going to be watching that movie next week. So
awesome.
If you haven't seen it, I do, spoiler, think it's fantastic. Can't wait to see what you think. You've probably heard the title song, Falling Slowly, at some point in your life.
Potentially.
Okay.
Title does not sound familiar, but
especially if you've watched Last Man on Earth. Was that Forte's show for a bit?
Yes, the one where he's the last man on Earth.
Yes,
except he's not.
Him and
Kristen Schaal,
Sudeikis, who plays his brother, have a brilliant little duet there in the middle of the series. I want to say. But yeah, so come back next week for that. And we'll be here, podcast at bookclubformovies.com, Facebook, Twitter. And Matt, we've recently had some discussions about changing up the format here.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Is that okay? She's shushing me. Do you have anything else you want to talk about for the rest of the show, this segment on this show today?
I do. I'm going to bring them up to you now. I have a couple of movies I wish to mention. So there's no way for me to give you good background on this that's going to make you go, of course, that's a good reason to watch this movie. Okay. I'm going to try and justify this, even though I don't believe in justifying movies, because you just watch them. But I'm going to justify this one. I remember watching this movie when it first came out, and I liked it. And I thought, oh, that was a funny movie. It's goofy and relaxing, and like there's nothing. And it was very late. It was like seriously, I think 1:30 in the morning or something. And I just wanted something that was low key. Nothing was going to bother me, and I could just watch it. Right. So I turned on the movie. Something
you can fall asleep to.
Except that I wasn't planning on falling asleep. Like I was up and I didn't. I watched the whole thing. Do you remember the Adam Sandler movie Grown Ups?
Remembering it would entail seeing it once.
I actually really like that movie. It's very.
I think I've heard this from you before, or at least other people before.
It's actually very funny. It's very cute. It's again very sweet in the kind of message that it's getting across. It's not perfect by any means. It's it's late era Sandler comedy stuff, but it's really funny, man. It's cool. It's a great movie.
I was going to say it actually, if I had to guess, maintains a middle ground between have you seen the new Adam Sandler movie and have you seen that Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. Right. This is the, Kevin James, David Spade. It's all the same people that you expect to see. Chris Rock is actually in this one. The cast is actually, it's super great.
Well, isn't that the thing about freaking Adam
Sandler
Sandler
knows
movies, is that
everybody.
even for Jack and Jill, he's got a stellar cast
Right.
going on.
But this
and
one,
Nick Swardston.
but this one you get, we don't talk negatively about Nick Swardston in this household. But this one's got Salma Hayek in it, and it's cute. It's funny. I liked it. Funny movie.
Didn't they do a sequel?
They
Isn't there
did.
another. Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it or not. Actually, I'd have to honestly turn it on to watch it.
Yeah, that also describes those movies to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could have been, they kind of blend together.
It could have happened. I think I watched it on Disney Plus. I'm fairly certain that's where it was, but it was streaming somewhere. The other movie I want to talk about, I mentioned this actually on Twitter a little bit, is I rewatched the movie Fanboys, kind of for the same reason.
I did see you tweet that. Yeah.
About grown-ups, that I wanted something kind of specific, and there were just a couple moments that were popping into my head recently, and so I wanted to watch it. And that movie occupies a really unique space for me. It's still very funny, and I find the entire concept of it to be brilliant. Like, the entire movie is actually a brilliant idea. And I think that about 85% of the script really works. And then you get about 50. There is so much homophobia in the movie. So many.
Is there?
So many.
Okay.
And it's like, and it's the casual. It's not like I'm not trying to justify this or lighten it in any way. It's that casual, like, well, that's gay, like that type of thing. But it's the one thing that mars this movie that is so good and so heartfelt and so sweet. And I still really like it. At the end of the day, I watch it and I go, you know what? That stuff sucks. And it really does put a damper on what otherwise could have been a pretty perfect little movie that could have stood the test of time because the time it takes place in. You know what I mean? So it's a movie that was built on something you can't, like, it was built on years before it, right? So it takes place during episode 1's release. So you know,
it's like you said, solid premise. Like, it's always been, and it's been long enough since I've seen it that I didn't remember half of that. So maybe I'll just let it lie for now.
No, I mean, I do think go back and watch it. Like, it's still really good in all the parts where they're not bringing, they're not dropping that stupid homophobic, the easy stuff like that. It's a brilliant movie. Like, there's a lot of really, really funny stuff in it. But the other thing that I want to call out about that movie in particular is, so there's this Remy Zero song called Fair that's in the movie towards the end, and the way that it's played over the sequence where they use it, it never fails to bring me to tears. I every single time.
All right.
It's
looking it up.
And I love that song too. That song is a great song, but it's that the way the song starts off and then there's a swell to it, and it's the movie is going through where the one kid is like, he's already accepted that he's dying of cancer, and it's the last moment we see with him, and the way the camera fades him out, fades up to the stars, fades back into them getting ready for like Star Wars, and so it's just.
I do remember the ending to that film totally landing. Like, I thinking they pretty much nailed it.
Absolutely. I mean, I do, and I also love the very last line of the movie is them sitting in the theater, the music starts, and the one guy goes, "Guys, what if the movie sucks?" And then that's the end of the movie. Like, pretty great. Like, it's a great line for that.
Thankfully, somebody knew what they were doing there.
So I think that's what I got. There's actually some if you want to see a short piece of review stuff, I'm going to try and do these a little bit more. There's one in the Discord, and I posted most of it, I think, if not all of it, on Twitter with for Robin and Marian, which I just recently watched. And man, that movie, what an incredible... I forgot not only how great the cast was, but how amazing the chemistry between Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn are for Robin and Marian. Just out.
I kind of wouldn't expect that either. It almost seems like an odd pairing.
They are unbelievable together. You immediately, there is for every, like, and I agree. I totally, like, thinking about it, it's like, I don't get it, but when you see it, it's there. They are amazing. And and the thing about Robin and Marian is it's a sweet movie, got lots of great action sequences, and it is not the ending that you think is coming. The movie is different than you think it is.
He starts a gas station and she shows up in a fur coat.
Okay, spoilers.
Okay,
but
go check that out.
Definitely.
I have its fun little mini review, and strangely enough, I had the same idea. So, in addition to that format change that we won't tell you about, we'll also not tell you about this new idea that we might also do whenever I tell Matt about it.
Don't tell me about it.
I think you're going to win the rest of the show section here. Mine are okay. I'll start with the positive one. I finally watched Between Two Ferns, the movie. Exactly.
It's real good.
It is. It's also, I think, even more slight than I thought it was going to be. I didn't necessarily expect it to be, especially coming from Scott Aukerman, Zach Galifianakis. Like these guys zig where other people zag. It's so crazy.
Scott Zagerman.
Also, largely improvisational, but it really is. The story is that they need to go cross country recording all these Between Two Ferns shows, and if they get to a certain amount, the king of Funny or Die, Will Ferrell, will grant them a network show of sorts, or grant one to Galifianakis. So he gets closer to his team as they go and do these shows, and then by the end, he gets his network show, and it's not who he is. He's a sellout, so he leaves it all behind and leaves with his team, et cetera, et cetera. That's the fun little story you get. And it's done with all of that, well-worn tropiness that they're easily able to make fun of and all that stuff. It is great. But I think largely still the movie is largely just a bunch of Between Two Ferns episodes that are good, probably better than average even. Like some of them, if you've ever seen the one with the leaky pipe, which I've seen out of context, and I remember thinking, man, they're really upping the budget on some of this stuff. It's because it's
context,
from this movie.
It's much funnier.
Yeah. But it is great. It's a funny movie. It was also exactly what I needed in the moment, because
love that.
Speaking of recording these things late in the week, I just wanted something that I could turn on and just kind of watch and laugh. And it's exactly that. Like if you want something to kind of decompress, it's going to make you laugh, and not in like you're going to have to think about it real hard.
No.
In a sort of social commentary type way. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you just want somebody to make you laugh, go watch Between Two Ferns, the movie.
Could not agree more or less. I agree exactly that amount.
If you want to laugh less, maybe go watch The New Mutants.
Oh, did you finally watch it? It's been
I did finally watch it.
It's been sitting.
So,
I still need to watch it. I will.
I mean,
I like all of the people in it, I think, except for maybe one person who I'm not really sure about because I don't know who they are.
The cast is perfectly fine to very good. It's just everything around them. I mean, I get a little rush. I don't know. Did you ever read New Mutants?
Yeah.
Okay. So X-Force was my book, so I would go back and get some New Mutants stuff in there because I knew New Mutants turned into X-Force. Not a whole bunch, maybe 5 issues total, if that, and none of the good ones. Like I don't have Deadpool's first appearance or Cable's first appearance or any of that. Yeah.
No, I don't have any of that.
Actually, I have the second printing of Cable's first appearance, which
that's garbage.
Whatever.
Burn it.
Yeah. Light it on fire. I still get a little rush, when Cannonball shows up or Sunspot. Like there's still a little bit of that. It's fun, and they kind of do some interesting things with their powers and the characters. but man, is it dull. It is just boring.
Oh, that sucks. That's like it's the worst.
Yeah, and for a movie that's also trying to do kind of a horror movie type thing, like it's doing a bit of genre work with that. Everybody's haunted by their past, but they're also haunted by the present.
They're now.
Yeah. It's not even hard to follow. It's just boring. Like, it's just so dull the way it all comes together. This also isn't entirely My New Mutants. I think this is borrowing a lot from the more recent versions of that title. So I don't know how much that has to do with it. Maybe I could forgive more of it if I had any interest in some of that stuff. But yeah, just kind of presents a mystery that's fairly easily solved and then unravels it at a fairly predictable and kind of boring pace with some lackluster scares and
yeah. So like
whatnot.
Okay, so New Mutants for me was 100% less, like, I didn't collect it. It was always about the cover art because it was like the coolest, like, weirdest cover art because it was Bill Sienkiewicz and his crazy painterly stuff. So like I've got a handful of them around, but I was never a big reader. I didn't know most of the characters. I do remember I had a short, this is so apropos of nothing, by the way.
Awesome. I love it.
I had this like tiny window of time. It was maybe like 6 months where I got really into Alpha Flight. And
nice.
and I remember, and it was because of the Marvel cards that were coming out, and I was like, these guys are kind of cool. And I got super into Puck. And then I just wanted to see Puck and Cannonball fight because they were same power. Same thing. Like, I just wanted to see them go wing, 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 and what happens? And then you had like you could have had.
You're describing a much better movie already.
You could have had things like Strong Guy picking up Puck and chucking him, and having
the poor man's fastball.
Right, exactly, and having somebody else, Colossus or whatever, throw whatever. I don't
Wolverine,
know.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Now let me ask you this. In the New Mutants movie, does Warlock show up at all? Because that would be stupid, and I don't know how that would work.
Warlock. See, now that name is ringing a bell. Is that the little computer-looking dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No.
Good. I don't know how that would work in a movie.
Not in any appreciable form. Well, they get around some of that because the main character, who I didn't recognize, I also didn't have any experience with Illyana. That's Colossus's sister.
Yeah, that's Magic.
Magic. Who is maybe the funnest character to watch because she's given a bit and somewhat of an arc. The main character doesn't really get an arc.
Who's the main character?
Really? Oh, gee.
Oh, you don't. Never mind.
IMDb, you say?
Magic is cool. She has some pretty cool powers. Her sword,
and they're manifested pretty coolly in the film. Like she has most of the interest as far as that goes, I think. But
yeah,
Blue Hunt's character Danny Moonstar is that I don't have. That's who I didn't know. I've never read a comic with her. I don't think. Okay, Mirage. She is psychically manifesting some stuff, so that's where all the spookiness comes from, and they try to introduce some things that way. So that would be how Warlock showed up, I would think. But no, I don't think they go that far. It's just boring. That would be interesting. This is not interesting.
I see. Well, let me end on something more interesting then. Sorry. Are you done? Was that?
Yes, extremely.
Okay. I'll end on something more interesting. I'm probably going to write a little bit about this in the newsletter this month because it just so again, I don't know how this keeps happening. I had no idea up until the week before Prey was coming out that it was a Predator movie. I had no idea that movie was coming out when I started watching the Predator movies. I just was like, oh, I want to watch these. And now I'm finding everybody else has already written their huge pieces about the Predator movies.
Sure, yeah.
Well, guess what? Idiot boy Bubba here is going to do one too. Anyhow, What I want to say about Prey, I've already kind of mentioned this in a few different places. I'm going to say it here too. Number one, go see it, watch it. It's on Hulu. Just bar none, watch it. Number two, do yourself a favor and really consider not watching the standard version that's there. Instead, scroll on over and watch the first ever Comanche language dub of the film, because the film is about Comanches. And it's in the freaking Comanche language, my dude. Pretty rad.
Yeah, it's a dub though. Like they're not actually speaking Comanche.
They are. So even in the English language version, they're speaking. There is Comanche.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's lots of Comanche, but the Comanche dub removes all of the English.
Huh.
Well, except for
that is crazy
because the French.
Yeah.
So
French umbrellas.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cherbourg.
So come back next week for Once, the 2007 lovey-dovey movie here in the month of August.
Yes.
At bookclubformovies.com, also patreon.com/bookclubformovies, where you can throw a few bucks in the tip jar, and we'll make good on some of these ideas that we've teased and have told you nothing about.
You'll learn nothing.
So stay tuned for those. We'll see you next week.
We will, and maybe even before Friday. Bye.
Tous ces gens qui chantent, moi tu comprends, ça me fait mal. J'aime mieux le ciné, tu l'as déjà dit. Ciao les gars. Ciao.